Hi, my name is Shorful and welcome to another one of my videos where I talk about the real world of data. So recently I was just asked by someone if they should do a PhD, and the reason they obviously asked me is because I have a PhD and they wanted my opinion. So this person really wanted to know, from my experience, should they do a PhD? And it is quite hard because I think, when you are doing a PhD, there's different reasons for wanting to do it. I had my reasons to do it, but this is the sort of advice I gave sort of him generically. So if you're thinking about doing a PhD, this might apply to you. Like I said, everybody's going to have their different motivations. Mine was it's probably different to his, but there are probably some similarities in the decisions that I made, or the things that I've learned anyway, about PhD. So the first thing about if you want to do a PhD is that you really want to do something, you really want to research something into a level of expertise and depth that you are passionate about. Because if you're not interested in it, if you're not passionate about it, I just can't see you maintaining that enthusiasm for the 3 or so years that you're going to be doing the PhD. So the first thing is really that there's something that you're really interested in. It doesn't, when you're at the beginning, you may not know the exact details of what you want to investigate, but there's a broad area that you're really passionate about to know more about, and you really want to do it. The next thing about wanting to do a PhD is that you're okay with the uncertainty. So I remember when I was doing my PhD, I didn't really know where it was ending. I knew that I was doing a series of research to answer hypotheses that I had, and I was presenting and working with my supervisor to sort of work through some of those studies that I had done and what they meant. But it was a bit uncertain. I mean, the certainty really came in my final year, where I was putting together the thesis and a story and a narrative emerged about what I discovered in my PhD. But what you might find is that, if you're not happy with that uncertainty, if you need structure, and you need sort of a clear roadmap, then it's going to be hard to maintain sort of the progress in doing a PhD. So you've really got to be uncomfortable with the uncertainty. The next thing about doing a PhD is that something that if I could do again, is I would not do it straight away after my master's. So I did my master's, I was 22, I went in to do a PhD, and I pretty much finished it by the time I was 25. I wouldn't recommend that. I think if you think about a PhD, it's not only a growth in knowledge, it's also a growth in an individual, because there was a lot of things that I did during the PhD, a lot of things around, understanding how you go about researching, understanding how you go about answering some really fundamental questions, okay? And they're quite deep, they're the kind of stuff that we were debating with people, but I don't think at the time when I was 23, 24, I was really absorbing that. Had I done my PhD when I was probably in my late 20s or even early 30s, I'd probably appreciate that more based on, how I grew as an individual. Now, I don't know, you might be different, you might have the maturity when you're 22, 23, so maybe you could do it then. But from my experience, I think I would have benefited more had I done it in my late 20s or early 30s. Another thing that I look back on my PhD and I think I wish I did more of was take more opportunities to present. I think you always think that you're busy in doing a PhD and you're always interested in writing papers, but I think I missed opportunities to present at conferences. I think whether there weren't the opportunities back then, I'm sure there were, I probably just wasn't looking for them, but now I see more of those opportunities, and I also see more conferences and presentations done by PhD students. So I think if you are going to do a PhD, look for those presentation opportunities. They're a great way to network. They're a great way for you to grow as an individual as well, and a great way to validate a lot of your thinking, okay? Because you're presenting to a wider audience. Yes, most of the people will just listen to you and that's it, but some of them will come back to you and discuss things. So if you are going to do a PhD, take those opportunities to present. I wish I had done that. I don't think I did enough presentations. And actually, I think if I had done it back then, I probably would have got more out of the PhD. And then the other thing I think was quite important for me when I was doing the PhD and made it was that you weren't necessarily thinking about a career to go into. I think if you're doing a PhD thinking I want to go into this type of career, it doesn't really work that way. I mean, I did the PhD because I wanted to do a PhD. I was interested in a subject area, interested in child health, and I really wanted to do something deep or in depth in that area. And I think that is what you must do. You mustn't do the PhD because you think you're going to end up in a certain career. You may find, like I did, that you don't do, your career is not in the area that you did your PhD in. So my PhD was in psychology, and even though I use psychology a lot in what I do, the skill set that I picked up from my PhD, which were the statistics, the research methodology, literature reviews and stuff, they're the sort of core skills that I picked up and I took throughout my career, but I don't really apply the more formal psychology or psychological knowledge that I have in my career. And then finally, I would do a PhD if you think it will help you in progression in your career. Now, I know that a lot of people in business, they do MBA, so that helps them in career progression. Does a PhD really help? I don't really know. I mean, I think for me it's helped a lot. I think it's helped to have a PhD, whether it's a PhD or whether the combination of the PhD and the way I've gone about my career has allowed me to progress. I'm not quite sure, but I think early in my career, having the PhD really did open doors for me. And also, obviously, you have the title of doctor, and it's always an interesting discussion point, especially when you're applying for jobs, when people ask you what you have your PhD in, and you can start talking about that. And people are genuinely interested in knowing what you do, because I think, when you do a PhD, there's no way that you're not passionate about it. So I think if you are going to do a PhD and you're thinking about, will it help you in your career? I think it will help you in your career. It may not help you in a particular career, but generally I found that having a PhD has helped. And I think, it should help having a PhD. And then finally, obviously, when you do a PhD, you get the title of doctor, and it's quite nice to put that on, application forms or even on your passport. But I don't think that should be the reason why you do a PhD. And even now, it's only when people remind me to use the term doctor I do. I think working in the commercial space, I've not really, appreciated what having a PhD is, because I've done it. But when I do meet fellow PhDs, I do actually have an appreciation for what they've been through, especially if they're working in the commercial sector, and how hard it is to actually transfer skills from academia into the commercial sector. Because sometimes when you have done a PhD, you want to do things really robustly. And an example I'll give you is that in my first job, actually, I had to do a questionnaire. And when I was doing my PhD, we do sort of, the reliability of a questionnaire. So, we'd run the questionnaire with a group of people, and then with the same group of people, we'd give that questionnaire again to make sure that there's reliability in their responses, so that the questions are framed in a way that people respond in pretty much the same way. When I actually got into the commercial space, I realized that people just design questionnaires and off they go. There's no check of reliability. And there were things that made me feel uncomfortable, but eventually you get used to it. So when and that's why when I do meet people who've done PhDs and they work in the commercial sector, I do have an appreciation that sometimes they have to let go of that rigor that the academia teaches you, because in the commercial sector, sometimes 80% is good enough. Okay, so that's just my general sort of advice around doing a PhD. Again, I'm hoping some of this will apply to you. The reason for doing it, the motivation, like I said, is dependent on the individual, and you need to decide why you want to do the PhD. I don't think anyone can give you a reason for wanting to do it. You have to have that reason within yourself. But like I said, from my learning, I'd probably want to do it a bit later in my life. I probably would have done more presentations. But yeah, and it has helped me in my career. I think it has. I don't know if I would have achieved what I have achieved without the PhD, but you never know, because you can't go back in life and replay it by changing something. So yeah, so that's my advice and the sort of perspective on whether a PhD, why I did the PhD and what I learned from it. Well, thank you for listening to my video. I hope you found it useful. Again, if you've got any questions or comments, please put them down on the YouTube comment sections, and I'll try and answer to as many as I can. Please do like the video so that I can get an idea of if this is content that interests you guys. And of course, please do subscribe to my channel and look out for more of my videos. Thank you very much.